This is Dungeon Leveling, arguably the most popular dungeon game right now, having more players than Dungeon Quest, World Zero, Arcane Conquest, and Fabled Legacy. But how did it do it? Well, that's today what I'm going to cover. Here's why I think Dungeon Leveling is beating all the other dungeon games. Now, Dungeon Leveling has had a bit of an interesting history. Dungeon Leveling is actually one of the newer games when it comes to dungeon games, made in late 2024. And it was also the game that was literally shut down for 1 month, meaning for this short duration of the game's lifespan, the game was shut down. And it's still rising above the limits of Dungeon Quest and all the other dungeon games. And the main reason because of this is pretty simple. It's basically how the game works. As you may notice, something similar with Arcane, Conquest, Fabled Legacy, and Dungeon Quest is they all follow the same dungeon dilemma. But Dungeon Leveling, on the other hand, follows a different dilemma. Now, I want to talk about a few things that I think that make the game this game, Dungeon Leveling, stand out between the others. Besides other games like Arcane Conquest, Fabled Legacy, Dungeon Quest, the typical ones that people know and jam. I just feel like, for example, first, it has this combination of wave things. For example, here is a unique cool thing here where you can actually take this little thing, roll a dice, and see if you actually get rewarded or damaged. I think that's pretty unique. Right here, I did roll, and I did not get a good roll, and I actually got damaged there. But another thing is how the game works. Basically, there is a bunch of different mechanics that this game doesn't have. For example, unlocking skills through levels. Basically, you need to level up once or twice with your certain amount of skill to unlock them. For example, right here, I do not have them. But maybe later in this clip, if I go all the way there, I will actually have both of these skills. I definitely think it's an improvement, or basically something like that is pretty cool, a skill connected with this, and something that you will keep through higher levels. It also has to do a lot connected with mana, which is the little blue bar that I have right here. It's basically your power of spells, so you don't just spam the most powerful goddamn spell and then do absolutely nothing else. And well, I think that's pretty nice. But another thing is that this game goes by going that it's pretty difficult. And I just think maybe I find it a little bit difficult because I actually struggle in this a lot. The reason I haven't done a 1-hour video on this is basically I don't think I am able to solo because I am not really good at this. But that's besides the point. Another thing that I noticed is the communities are a bit different. I don't really know or think, I'm not sure, if this goes to the different success of the game. It's just something else I wanted to point out. I feel like the community is a lot less toxic. I've already said in previous videos I find the dungeon community is pretty toxic. But I also think that may help. Maybe it doesn't. But, well, mostly what it is mostly of it focusing on a unique gimmick. Because, well, Dungeon Quest failed doing one gimmick, for example, the gimmick that Dungeon Quest had. But doing the same thing again isn't going to yield you better results. It's kind of like the originality. They grabbed the concept of dungeons and they revolutionized it in its own way. Even if I like it less, because I actually like this less than Arcane Conquest and Fabled Legacy, this is doing better because this is having a more unique concept and grabbing a more unique audience with this. And I'll admit that. Even if I like it less, it's kind of pretty much facts. Another thing we have here is that the game actually gets updated a lot more when it comes to, well, the dungeon genre. Updates are hard in the dungeon genre, and this game kind of updates consistently. Let me show you exactly what I mean with this, to be exact, because a lot of dungeon games can struggle with updates overall. Now, I'm recording this video on April 9th, just letting you guys know. For reference, I don't know when this is going to release, but the first update was today. But then if we go a little back, then it was 2 days ago. And then 4 or 5 days ago was 2 updates, and then another thing, and another, and you notice that they're actually effectively adding a lot of stuff pretty quickly. But if we look at other dungeon games, for example, Arcane, Conquest, or Dungeon Quest, for example, right here, when they update the enemies on Dungeon Quest and we scroll down here to the next one, this was a times 2 XP event, but I wouldn't count that. The next thing wasn't all the way until September 19th, which is just crazy. But if we also look at Arcane Conquest, the last update was 2 days ago. And then if we go the day before, or the last update, March 20th. Then before, March 16th, I guess the end store. But then the one before, March 9th, March 2nd. A little bit more consistent, but it actually seemed to hit quite a drop. The dungeon games itself are actually going a lot faster, which I think is really cool. And that may influence the increase in players. And after all those combinations of all those things, it kind of shows why it came sort of successful or, well, different. As much as we want Dungeon Quest, or as much as even I would want Dungeon Quest to stay alive for the next 10 years, it won't, because no game lasts truly forever. Because when it comes to the games, or basically a game itself, 5 years later, things change. Things upgrade, things change, people's interests are gone and change. No matter how you put it, unfortunately, dungeon games like Arcane Conquest or Dungeon Quest may not rise as much as before. And that's that. There's not much we can do about it. Even if certain dungeon communities outside of dungeon leveling don't like the game, or find it boring, or something else, for example here, or another example here, or a third example even here, it's still going to be the most successful, or as it currently is. Even after the shutdown, it is still consistently getting more players, and it doesn't feel like it's going to change anyway because of all the reasons I gave. It really seems like this game is going to have quite an interesting future. I know some people will definitely not agree to what I have to say here. Others might agree, but the thing is, numbers are pretty much numbers, and you can't really change that fact. But if you still want to leave your opinion, I'd love to have it. You can comment down below, and I'll answer all my comments. You know how it is. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. YouTube says you'll like this video on the screen right now. And waddle out, my friends.